suppose it is, really. Chickens. That was a group of animal rights activists raiding a restaurant for the sake of, well, chickens. Would you eat your cat or your dog? I suppose it depends how hungry you were. A new campaign says that chickens, pigs and cows are just as important as kitties and puppies. Anita Krajnc is from, amongst other groups, Toronto Pig Safe, is that right? And I met you about a week or so ago. You were outside a building where chickens were being taken off in huge numbers. You're very nice. I like you. You're not some well, you may be fanatical, but you seem extremely polite and informed. And I don't agree with you completely. I am disturbed by the treatment of animals. But I want to begin with a story here. And I want your verdict, your opinion. Last night, our dog, beautiful little Parson Russell Terrier, found that the hamster cage was not secure. Right? The hamster's back was broken. It died. My daughter was very upset. You know, she was crying. But so who was in the wrong there?
That's a good question. If that's their natural instinct to do that, those kinds of things happen, and it's sad. It's a tragedy, and I guess you were in the wrong for leaving that cage open.
Yeah, it was my other daughter who blamed her. Well, it was very sad, and it does happen because that's what they do. And we eat meat. That's what we do.
Okay. Well, I used to eat a lot of meat, and I used to salivate when I saw a pork roast.
Did you?
Yes, absolutely. And I
was brought up Jewish, so that wouldn't have worked.
My parents were from Eastern Europe.
You salivated?
Yeah, I salivated, and I thought nothing of the animal, nothing. Yeah. Now, when I see an animal, when I see meat on the plate, as that woman Kelly saw in the restaurant, I see an individual chicken. Just like my individual dog.
Let me ask you about that, because I'm not here to play some silly game and eat a sandwich in front of you. I mean, let's try and talk about this. I find it disturbing the way animals are treated. I'm not comfortable with animals being killed, but I'm a realist. It's just me being an urban silly. She was crying at this idea. I think of people being slaughtered. I think of rape as a political weapon. I think of kids dying of starvation. Surely we have to get this in perspective and proportion. Crying at the treatment of a chicken?
I bet your daughters were probably crying at the death of the hamster.
Until we got another hamster, yeah.
But and I know that my dog is part of my family, and you probably feel the same way about your dog.
Didn't blame the dog.
No.
It wasn't her fault.
But you see, with the idea that other animals deserve equal consideration, I think it's an idea that's coming to the fore, and I actually admire that woman lamenting that much and crying.
What about within the animal kingdom? I mean, animals eat animals. Often they'll eat them, they're still alive. They're devouring them while they're screaming. Not out of sadism. I mean, cats will play with mice for fun, by the way, but most animals will only eat when they're hungry. I mean, should they be stopped?
A lot of predators have difficulty looking their eyes in the victim's looking in the victim's eyes. So I think there's...
so they're embarrassed about it. I'm sorry I'm going to eat you. I'm terribly embarrassed, but I have to do it.
That's right. And I think we have a choice. And, you know, there are 65 billion animals that are killed worldwide each year. And it's not necessary. And I'm a vegan. And so that woman was... The woman was lamenting not only for meat, but the fact that eggs and milk were being consumed.
The milk was being consumed too. I believe we should treat animals in a better way than we do. I have some reservations about factory farming and so on. But and you know, I said to you the other day, one day I might become a vegetarian, but I don't think a vegan. But I want to ask you this, and I know these questions are difficult, but I think they have to be asked. The term Holocaust, the term slavery is used. Why use terms like that? If you want to campaign for animals, fine. But to compare it to the Holocaust, to compare it to slavery, you think that's appropriate?
I think it's appropriate when people from those communities do it. So Alice Walker wrote the introduction to a book called The Dreaded Comparison about slavery and comparing human slavery and animal slavery.
Just because she's black doesn't mean she's entitled to do that. I mean,
but I think
there are black people who cooperated with apartheid governments. There were Jews who put other people into camps.
But we're talking about the opposite here. We're talking about people that are standing up for the oppressed.
Yeah.
And so people that have been oppressed...
Do you think it's appropriate to make any comparison between the Holocaust, between the slavery of black people and the way chickens are treated?
I think if you believe in the idea of equal love for different beings, it's a Buddhist principle. It's a principle that Tolstoy believed in. He was an ethical vegetarian.
And you would use those terms?
I wouldn't emphasize them because I'm not Jewish myself and I'm not black myself, but I respect those comparisons if you believe in animal equality, which is something I believe in.
Well, I don't, you see. I believe that we have a responsibility to use animals with respect and dignity, not to abuse them. But I do think we're superior. Do you really believe in complete equality? So do you believe an ant is the equal worth of a human? Do you believe a cat is equal worth to a world? I think this very card here shows that you don't, because you're saying to people, I mean, I thought you were saying to people, eat kittens, but I think you're saying don't eat either. You're really saying, hey, look, you know that's cuter than that, so animals aren't equal.
When I see worms on the sidewalk, I avoid stepping on them.
Yeah,
and
so
I think
would
it's a nice principle. But that's not the issue here. The issue here is that 65 billion animals are being killed a year.
But is there a hierarchy?
No, I don't believe in hierarchies. I believe in animal equality.
So a person is equal to an ant?
I don't know if I would term it that way. We have different interests. So we have Peter Singer, one of the foremost philosophers in animal rights, says we have different interests. So we have an interest in voting. They don't. We all have an interest in living. If we could avoid harming each other.
What is an ant interested in?
Living.
Is it?
And cooperating in their colonies. Right. And I respect that. If I can avoid stepping on an ant, I do. But that's not the issue here. The issue is consuming animals when it's not necessary. I'm a healthy vegan. I don't only want you to become vegetarian. I want you to become a vegan.
I know, you ran after me.
And an animal advocate. Not only vegan, I'm not stopping there. I actually want you to be an animal advocate. And I appreciate, just discussing this issue. And that clip that you showed was very controversial. Yeah. There was a lot of negative feedback to it, but I respect that woman for lamenting.
I don't despise her. And I saw what you were doing that morning, and I admired you to a certain extent. Part of me does the, oh, golly, this is neurotic first world problem stuff, and I just do feel more for people who are suffering terribly, and I think, we ignore the problems of Africa often because they're not quite like us, and I despise that attitude. I just believe you go too far. You're not violent, you're a very kind person, but I believe you go too far. I don't believe in equality. I think we should use animals with respect and properly, and we should consume less, but we still have a right.
I don't think you can ever go too far in being kind.
All right.
And you can't be extremist if you're kind. Like, the more kindness, the better. We all want more of that in our life. Okay. And if we can be kind to, pigs, to cows and chickens, then that's a better world for all of us.
Or even to Morrissey the hamster.
Absolutely.
Who is no longer with us. May his or her soul rest in peace and all that. And Morrissey, of course, who the real Morrissey is a vegan and his poor man has cancer.
True.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.